welcome to Design Love Podcast. Let's talk design, where I give you tips and hacks to help you design your home your way. It's your girl, Denise Joy. I am an interior designer, a space curator. I'm a 26-year college professor, and I'm the founder of the School for Joyful Living, where I help women who crave community, accountability, and support implement an action plan so they can live their version of a joyful life. How good is that? This episode is part of my series on declutter, downsize, and organize. As y'all know, I love all three of those. I love organization. I used to not be organized. I used to be stuck with, way too much stuff, couldn't find things. I didn't have a good system. I didn't have a system that was simple enough to really support me and how I really wanted to thrive and to live. So, I'm super, super excited about this episode. Definitely go back and watch some of the previous episodes. There's a part one and part two on decluttering, wonderful tips, create a system. There's the benefits of being organized. There's what else? A couple of episodes on how to get what to do to get organized. And then these last couple are how to stay organized. Today, we're going to be talking about using the rules of editing to stay organized, right? We are just right before like prime time for spring cleaning. Whether you live in an area where the seasons change, naturally, as they say, where you have four seasons, right around this time is when we really begin to prepare to step back and kind of, spruce up the house, both inside and outside, whether it's an apartment or you have a standalone home or a condo, because we want to get things ready for the summer. Okay. And I have been saying, I'm here in the US, and I have been saying ever since I started this series on the podcast, it's really no better time to do something like this, to look and examine, be more on the interior when there's a state of unrest. I believe there is in the US, and as well as some of my, friends and colleagues in other parts of the country. They're like, what's going over there, going on over there? I think it's no better time than now to really organize your home. Take a look at things you don't need or have outlived their time, and examine and do an assessment. So this fits in kind of naturally. It gives you a sense of what I call your locus of operation or locus of control, which is what's happening in your own house. If you are unfamiliar with the rules of editing, you're going to get a ton out of this video. If you have experienced some of these challenges of not being organized, like you try to get organized, but you end up with a bigger mess, or you get organized, but your success is always temporary, or you're just having difficulty. Hey, what's up? Thanks for joining me live. You're having difficulty with changing your behavior. These rules of editing, the tips, hacks, and principles that I shared in the previous episodes, they're going to help you a ton. I've helped a lot of people go to their home. Well, usually here's what happens. Someone hires me to help them to redesign a room or several rooms in their home. When I go and do the visit, what quite often I end up finding that we also have to do some decluttering first. If the person already has a system and they already know what to do, great. I can just simply give them some support. But if the person is just doesn't have a system, then I also will go there, do that part first, because it's so important to shift the habit that someone has created or built for themselves, so that when we redesign the space, yes, it stays that way. It stays the space that you're absolutely going to love being in. I often say we want to redesign the space in a way that it just feels so good people don't want to leave. And if they leave, they can't wait to get back. So if you're new to my channel, please hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. You don't want to miss the announcement of any of my always awesome videos. Shout out in the comment section, what state or what country are you watching from? And if you have a question, drop it, and I promise that I will get to it. Now listen, decluttering is the first part of the battle. Remember, this series is decluttering, downsizing, and organizing. Decluttering is the first part of the battle. Organizing is the best part. Can't wait. I can't wait till we get. So we're in the organization part, and now we're talking about how do you stay organized. You've done the decluttering, you've done some downsizing, you follow the system for getting organized, and now we're talking about how do you stay organized. Staying organized requires a system. That just means things that you do repeatedly. You want to create a new habit. Basically, that's what you're trying to do. Here's the guiding principle for my system and philosophy, and that is everything should have a place, and once you use it or touch it, it should return to that place. I mean, you could get as granular as if you have a shirt, something you take out of your closet, and you don't need to, let's say you washed it and you're going to put it back in the closet, it should go right back where you had hung it previously, so that you build a system of memory and you just recall how things live in your home. What you don't want is to adopt this mentality. Oh, that's good enough. Oh, that's good enough. Here's the thing. When we adopt an oh, that's good enough philosophy, what we're really doing is we're creating a way of thinking and being where we stop just short of the thing that's going to give us the greatest success and happiness and joy. Oh, that's good enough. Start to get rid of that. You might even have found you've said that in the past. Oh, that's good enough. No, it's not. Absolutely not. I have another saying. We all should realize that nobody owes us anything, but we owe ourselves everything. And if you prefer a home that is more organized, it makes you feel calmer, more at peace, more efficient, you can get things done, you have more time to yourself, you can go outside, look at the clouds, hug the trees, whatever that is, then you owe it to yourself to give yourself that. All right? So I'm going to do a very brief recap of how to get how to get organized part 1. These are some of the things you can find there, and then we're going to jump into the rules of editing. So in that episode, you can learn how to organize your home to fit your lifestyle. You can start to ask these questions. What's causing clutter in this room? This is my favorite one. This is worth going back and watching that episode. Create clutter-free room rules. It's so clutch. Everything you're going to learn in that section. What organizing products could you use better, and how to use containers and grouping. So that's in the episode on how to get organized, part 1. That's a 2-parter. What does it mean to edit a room? Well, editing, you may be familiar with the word editing if you write something. If you were in, you went to school and you had to write a paper and the teacher says, oh, you need to edit this. You need to go back and look for errors. In other words, you're taking some things out. And so editing a room follows the same principle. When you edit a room, you are stepping back. You are looking in the space and determining what things that are in this room need to come out. But it's for a specific purpose, to improve things in the room. You want to improve the vibe. You want to improve the aesthetic. You want to improve the usability. You want to improve the functionality. You want to improve the safety. Huge one. A lot of times folks have a less organized system that actually makes your space less safe, particularly if you have young kids or grandkids, nieces and nephews who come over and they're younger. It's different when you are only in your home or your space, but whenever my great nephews come over, I'm always checking first to make sure that things are better organized, because they don't live in my home all the time. And I don't want to have a situation where something is unsafe for them. So in this case, what we're doing in this episode is talking about removing things that don't belong in a room or have outlived their usability, or you have an organized system and now you have started to fall away from that, and you're creating those habits that got you into the declutter or less organized position in the first place. So let's get into what I'm going to cover in today's conversation. Again, I keep things simple. So this is 6 steps that you are going to begin to adopt. Now, you are not going to adopt them all today. You're going to hear them today, right? I've been a college professor for a long time. You're going to hear them today. I call that theory. You're going to hear the theory today. But what we want is for you to move into implementation, because actually learning happens when you do the thing. It's just not in the hearing, but we do need both. We do need both. So that's why you can come back. You can watch these episodes on repeat. So we're going to cover these. Developing your organization habit. Number 2, don't put it down, put it away. Number 3, remove clutter as you go. Number 4, make it easy to stay organized. Number 5, make to do and to remember lists. And number 6, leave the room cleaner than you found it. Remember, these are the rules of editing. These are the 6 rules, the 6 steps. Let's jump into number 1. Number 1, develop your organization habit. I was thinking about this one. Really, I was brushing my teeth this morning and I was thinking about this one, and it just popped into my head that we're always creating a habit. So if you have a habit of being less organized, you've been practicing that habit for quite some time, right? It's just second nature. You don't even have to think about being less organized anymore. It just does it. It's just there. So developing your organization habit, you have to prioritize that, but you really want to give conscious, intentional, focused thought and energy to that for right around 3 weeks. It might even take 4 weeks, but at minimum 3 weeks. You can do that. We can all do that. We can take the time, make the commitment, put in the energy, put in the effort to create a new organization habit. It'll be a little frustrating, might be a little bit irritating, and it also might not. It might not be frustrating at all. You might be so ready that you just go into it with maximum enthusiasm, right? You just hyped all the way up about it. That's a great thing. Let yourself live in that space because you are shifting out of a habit you've been maintaining, caretaking, right? And curating for quite some time. Number 2, make a conscious effort to do a new thing every day. This one can be a little bit harder because most of us are creatures of habit, right? I'm not unlike. I often say I love adventure outside the home. I like routine in the home because I want to be able to find things quickly and more efficiently. But if you have a system where you're less organized and you can hardly ever find things, then you're going to have to say, I'm going to do a new thing each day. Meaning, if I move something, I'm going to put it back where it goes. That's just doing a new thing every day. If you have gotten yourself into the habit, let's say if you work outside of your house and you come home, your habit is, oh, I'll just put my clothes right here on this chair. I'll put them away later. Now, you and I all know, you and I both know, you're not putting those clothes away later most of the time. That's a habit. So you might just start there. I'm going to do a new thing every day. That new thing is when I take my clothes off, I'm going to put them where they go, hamper, whatever the case may be. Number 3 in this step, make a commitment to treat your space differently. Okay, you're going to keep the rules of editing, the rules of decluttering, the rules of staying organized. You're going to push those top of mind. If you have to, get yourself some cards, like my little note cards here, and you can write messages to yourself. That's a kind, loving, generous thing to do. I believe in taking actions that reflect self-love back to myself. And so if that's something that will help you, then do that. I'm committed to a new space. You might put that on a note card and make sure it's right there, when you're brushing your teeth or whatever the case may be. So number 1, develop your organization habit. Be, put your shoulder behind it. Don't be passive and tentative about this. This is really the mindset step of the rules of editing. A mindset shift is critical. We have to nurture our mindset evolving and progressing so we can achieve the things. Hey, y'all, thank you. Thanks so much for joining me live on Design Love today. We're talking about the rules of editing to help you stay organized. Let's look at number 2. Don't put it down, put it away. Yes. Ooh, let me tell you, this one right here changed my whole life. Don't put it down, put it away. Somehow in our mind, we sell ourselves that, I'll just sit it right here for a minute. Child, 2 hours go by, 2 days go by, right? And it's still there. And then you start trying to avoid it. You just like, oh, I don't see that. I don't see that pile right there, right? I know I'm not alone in this. Okay, I cannot be. If this is you, just put you, that's me in the comment section. So number 1, before you put something down, always ask yourself, is this where this goes? You're usually going to say no, right? Is this where this goes? If not, go put it away. Number two, this will become second nature. Remember, you're shifting so you can create new organization habits. The rules of editing require you to ask questions of your behavior, to assess, pause, ask a question, and be real with yourself, okay? Number three, commit to put your clothes away right after you take them off for work or the end of the day. It will take you less than 2 minutes. It really will. It will take you less than 2 minutes. Again, this is kind of back to number one, creating a new organization habit. Commit to doing it. I once helped a homeowner. He hired me to help him declutter, downsize, and organize a garage. And it was full of stuff. I mean, full of stuff. And one of the things that he realized that he was constantly picking things up, putting them down in other places, and then he would go to the store and buy the same item. I kid you not, we found 7 of the same exact screwdriver. And he was a tiny bit, like, oh, kind of a little bit embarrassed because that was the evidence was right there. When you don't put it down, you put it away, you save money. You don't just save time, you save stress, you save kind of getting a little upset with yourself or frustrated with yourself for creating, quote, a mess or a pile or whatever in the first place. So the rules of editing say, don't put it down, put it away, or you can say put it back. All right. This will save you time and energy. You won't have that energy pull in the back of your mind, knowing you got to go back and deal with something. And like I said, you'll usually end up starting to avoid that, and that just makes the problem worse. All right, number 3, remove clutter as you go. This is another one that I've gotten really good at. Remove clutter as you go. Every evening, you pick a time. It could be, I don't know, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever works for you. And you're going to commit to 10 minutes to walk through your home and collect stray items and return them to their home, to the place where they should live. It might not even take you 10 minutes, because if you start building this into your lifestyle every day, you might end up taking 5 minutes, because if you're already practicing a better organization habit, if you're already practicing don't put it down, put it away, or put it back, then the act of removing clutter as you go is likely to be not as high. It won't take as much time as as we might think. So this is another one. If you live on multiple floors, this is remove clutter as you go. I happen to have a basement, a first floor, and a second floor. In the winter months, I don't really use my first floor as much, because I'm here most of the time alone, but with my son comes and he's here part-time. But nonetheless, what you want to do is take something up and down. So if there's something that I know needs to go in the basement and I'm going in the basement, I remember to take that as I'm going downstairs, or if I was vice versa, having to go upstairs or from upstairs to down. So just always stop and say, hey, is there something I need to take downstairs? Is there something I need to move upstairs? So that you're doing it as you go throughout the day. You're, again, just building it in as part of your habit. Let me know if you love this one. Let me know which of these are your favorite. Drop in the comments. I would love to hear that from you. Always check to see if there's something you can edit. Remember, remove from a space to improve the aesthetic. It feels cleaner. It feels more organized. It's safer, so make sure you always do that. A few minutes here and there, it adds up so fast. And then you have that you're using less time to deal with something. And again, you're preventing yourself from creating a bigger problem. Nobody needs a bigger problem. We want to go in the opposite direction. So remove clutter as you go. And make sure I didn't leave off anything here. Yeah. So take, like I said, about 10 minutes just to walk through and see if there are things that you need to put back, because for whatever reason you didn't practice, don't put it down, put it away earlier in the day. All right, let's jump into number 4 of the rules of editing. Hey, thank you so much for joining me live on Design Love Podcast today. Number 4, make it easy to stay organized. I know I know most of you can really benefit from this one. So if keep a drop basket, like a basket. I prefer a basket, or you could have a box, but I do kind of like that to look a little more aesthetically pleasing. So keep a drop basket in different rooms that your kids, if you have them, your grandkids, or even nieces and nephews, can drop toys or shoes or things that you don't want just sitting here or there. And that begins to send the message that everything has a place and your home is an organized space. So that drop basket then becomes a way for you to just pick the basket up. And let's say at the end of the day, and if you have children, I encourage you to have your children do this with you. You are not the main housekeeper in the house. In fact, I'll tell you a quick story. I once worked with a client. I was doing some business coaching with this client a couple of years back. And she was just telling me how, oh, because she was dealing with clutter. You wouldn't think that decluttering would be a part of business coaching, but it was. She was dealing with an office that wasn't, really serving her, and home office. So anyway, she was telling me about how tired she is at the end of the day, and so on and so forth. She's getting her boys. She had 3 sons. And I paused. I remember thinking, but these boys are like 9 and 11. And I think one was even 12, not quite 13. And I said, well, why aren't they helping you? And she was like, well, And I said, no, no, I don't know. They ought to be doing the put things back, at the end of the day, and or help them to become more organized, because she was spending a lot of time really picking up behind them. And it took she was like, you're right. I'm going to give it a try. It took several months, about maybe 6 or 7, not months, weeks. And I remember we got on our another call, and she said, "You've changed my whole life." I'm like, "No, you changed your life, because you just listened and heard that what I was saying was really good, sound advice." And I gave her some tips, things to do, and she did the work. I said, "You implemented, you changed your life. You were brilliant enough and wise enough to know, I need that. I don't need that yesterday. I need that right now. I need that 10 minutes ago. So let's get to it." And she made a significant change in her whole vibe of her home. Make it easy to stay organized. Make putting things away at a certain time of the day or night a ritual for the family. So again, this is really a tip. Now, of course, if you live alone, it's for you. But if you have that family, young children, it really doesn't matter how old they are, teenagers, whomever, whatever. You are actually creating, these are the rules of this home. You know, kind of hate to be a little heavy with it, but this is how this home is going to exist. That's interesting. I only have one child, one son, and I modeled the rules of decluttering, staying organized, and editing to my son, but I did not demand that he, quote, clean his room all the time. In fact, most of the time, his room wasn't my version of clean. And I'll tell you what, though, when he got older and, start to move out on his own, he would come and share his stories with me sometimes and say, man, Ma, this roommate, they don't know. And it was becoming very clear that what had been modeled to him, even though he didn't always follow them for his own room, he did for the rest of the house, but not his room. I kind of like, okay, that's yours. Now, I did have some rules. You couldn't leave food and, that kind of basic stuff in his room. But anyway, now that he's really fully out, on his own, he does a lot of international traveling. He is an organized person. His packing, how he keeps his space and everything. But he said he just loves it because he feels at peace and he's more efficient. So that's just a tip, that if you think, oh, I don't want to make my young people do this or that, or your grands or whatever, they're watching, right? They're taking their cues from us. If you find that you are consistently picking up something over and over again, you want to stop. You want to stop and assess, because you want to ask this question: do you need to change how that item is organized and stored so it becomes more effortless for you? If you've created an organizing principle for something and it actually doesn't work, change it. Don't just keep doing it. That irritant, that frustration is going to be there, and you're not going to be able to keep it up. You're working against yourself. So make it easy to stay organized. If you find that it's like, ooh, I'm always, stop, pause, check it out, assess, change, make a pivot. We love to say pivot. What's going to be the pivot? Um, the last is make sure that you have what you need to be efficient, that it's near you. Here's an example. I believe in recycling, and I believe in composting. And I had created a compost system inside. Actually, it's a three-step system, but nonetheless, the way I had set it up at first, I had the composting bin too far away. Might sound small, but if it's too far away, if it doesn't feel as efficient, you're less likely to do it. So then I shifted it, tweaked it, making it easier for me to stay organized, making it stay easier for me to continue to do that thing. Then make those types of shifts in your space. All right, y'all. Let me know if these are good for you, if you're feeling these things, or there's new tips and hacks that you had not thought of. Let's get to number 5. Make to do and to remember lists. This is really important when you implement a new organization system. It's new. Remember, I talked about at least 3 weeks to create a new organization habit. And you might start feeling a little discombobulated, right? So get you some notes, whether they're cards or sticky pads, sticky notes, write on them. Say, such and such is here now, right? Until you commit it to memory, and then you're not held up by constantly saying, what did I put where? Oh, that used to be there, et cetera, et cetera. Or the worst thing is, why did I mess up my cluttery system or my unorganized system? I kind of could remember. But that's seductive, because when we do that, we're saying you really remembered a few things and you spend a lot of time hunting for things. But when we're in a process of change, we're more likely to revert back to and only look at a few of the things that were good for us. Dare I say, that's kind of like when you're in a poor relationship and you get out of it, and then you might, 2 or 3, 4 months later start longing for it. Well, you're not remembering the sound reasons why you left it. You might just remember 2 or 3 good things, right? It's sort of no different with an organizational habit. So make a list for any new activity so you don't forget what you need to pack or take with you. Like, I do packing lists all the time. Different for if I'm going to a warm weather, cool weather, the beach, etc. Because you don't want to forget anything. That's also a part of building an organization habit, an organization way of thinking. All right, number 6. This is our last step in the rules of editing to help you stay organized. Number 6, leave the room cleaner than you found it. Again, this is another one. I'm a little bit OCD, maybe, right? I do love to, now that I've gotten it and I've lived by it, I enjoy it. It really gives me joy, quite honestly. So leave the room cleaner than you found it. Make a commitment to improve a room's appearance. So instead of letting the mail pile up that you don't need, in fact, like the junk mail, that's a lot of what we get, at least I do. Just throw it away right away. In fact, have a little trash can right there. So the rules of editing, you're going to remove it. Boom, it's in that. It's gone. You don't need it. Toss the papers, toss them out. Don't let it pile up. Straighten pictures or lampshades. I actually just did this the other day. I was looking at a picture. I'm like, oh my God, that's straight. That's crooked. I went over, hit that little corner. You get such a sense of satisfaction. That's part of the rules of editing, staying organized, putting things, removing the crookedness to get it all aligned up. What's the point of having a crooked picture on the wall? Things like closed cabinets and drawers. And if you have young kids, they kind of have the habit of leaving. They go in something, they don't shut the door or shut the drawer. Teach them, say, shut that, go back, make sure that's closed. All right, yay, however, based on how old they are. You wouldn't say yay to your teenager. And then number 5, make your bed so that you set the tone of readiness for the work of the day. I know there are some people who are team, I don't make my bed. And then there's those of us who are team, I makes my bed. I like to make my bed. Again, it gives me that sets a tone of being organized and, prepared for the organizational principles of the day. And then lastly, if you take it out, put it back. If you carry it in, carry it out. If you borrow it, return it. If you take it off, hang it up. If it's broke, fix it. Yes, that's it. Leave the room cleaner than you found it. And here's a bonus. Remember, y'all, there's an 80-20 rule. Most people, and I'm safely, and I feel confident in saying that's pretty much all of us here watching, listening. We follow the 80-20 rule. 20%. We use 20% of what we own. We touch 20% on a weekly basis. We engage with 20%. The other 80% is really just taking up space. That might be really sobering to hear, but if you sit with it, it's actually, pretty true. Or maybe for you, it's not quite 80-20. Maybe it's 60-40. Maybe it's 70-30. But there's always a percentage of what we have we don't really interact with, we don't engage with, we don't even really need. So that would put you back to declutter, downsize. If you really come to sit with that for a week or two and say, you know what, I just need to cut some things. I don't really need all of these things. So I'll encourage you to make a conscious decision to only have those items you absolutely love, you absolutely need, that absolutely improve your life from both an aesthetic perspective and a functionality perspective. Let's close out with the affirmation. I always close out Design Love podcast with an affirmation. I am organized out of respect for myself and others. I honor my wellspring of self-love by organizing my home. You deserve that. You absolutely deserve to have the kind of organizational system that makes you happier, gives you a sense of peace, that makes you feel welcomed in your own home, that makes you feel cared for. I always say, from you, for you, to you. You're taking those types of actions from yourself, for yourself, to yourself. That's the epitome of self-love. Yeah, I ain't trying to get deep, but I mean, I believe that. I've seen it. I've seen a homeowner when we've gone in and decluttered, downsized, and got her homeowner organized, and the homeowner weeps, starts to weep, right? A sense of relief, a sense of, okay, now how do I maintain this? Then I teach them the rules of editing. You can do it. I promise you, you can do it. Thank you so much for joining me for Design Love podcast. Let's Talk Design, where I share tips and hacks to help you design your home your way. My philosophy is do you, boo. This podcast drops on Mondays and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you're watching the replay, drop your questions. Let me know what state you are watching from and what do you need organized in your home. I'll see you all in the next episode. Have a great week.